think of it as going into a networking event or getting invited to a meeting with a lot of people that are higher ups and understanding how many times you're raising your hand. Like these are all situations that we're very familiar with outside of social media, right? Not like sometimes it's a hi in the hall, right? Sometimes it's a, I was at the meeting, right? Sometimes it's a, I have to add something that's super valuable. My advice is think of it that way and kind of interact with social media the same way you would in those situations, right? Like, especially LinkedIn, it lives or dies so quickly.
Yeah.
So quickly. Like, I mean, compared to other social media, it's a little longer. Like LinkedIn is about 2 weeks for people who aren't on LinkedIn. But other than that, like it's gone. So let it go. As in the words of Elsa, as my granddaughter would say, let it go.
I love that. And honestly, there are times when if I spend more than like 20 or 30 minutes, like I'm on a post, somebody said something really insightful or somebody had a question, I will stop myself and be like, that might actually be a post for me to spend time on and link to it and say, you know, there was a great conversation over here and I really wanted to outline my thoughts a little bit deeper and then like expound over there on my own page.
Love that.
Yeah.
Love that. And doesn't have to be done that day, right? Can be. There was a great post I saw last week that, because again, we have this 2-week time cycle on LinkedIn, right? And so don't get caught in having to respond to it in that moment, right? If make a note, take a walk, take a shower, sleep on it, whatever your thing is, and then come back to either your post or posting on that too. I love that, Becky. Great advice.
Show off.
Oh, stop. Oh, stop.
That's a good thing.
That is a good thing. What else, guys? Other questions? Like, let's get nitty gritty. This isn't just general. Like, do you have specific questions about what you should do? What should I talk about? What am I doing? What am I doing wrong? Like, whatever. Like, what do you guys have?
And I think what am I doing is just a great question every day. I don't know if anybody else feels that way. What am I even doing here? I think with LinkedIn, sometimes I'm still trying to figure out like the secret sauce of getting impressions and like getting people to see my pages. Because I look at my different posts, like example, Valentine's Day, I posted a post. I posted something about me and a mascot for my local hockey team that delivered a Valentine for me. This post got like crazy impressions, but a post that I just recently did about Women's History Month, where I showcased my 2 little girls, didn't quite, I mean, we're still in that 2-week cycle, but it didn't quite get the same amount of impressions as my mascot post, right? And I feel like my personal brand that I've been working on for the last couple of years is kind of that like women's empowerment. I run a women's group at Sagent. I'm trying to encourage other women to like embrace your weirdness, embrace like who you are and support each other and not bring each other down, because it sometimes is a dog eat dog world with women, right? So I think it just surprised me a little bit that me standing with a mascot got more impressions than me actually talking about the impact of Women's History Month and the inspiration that I'm setting for my girls,
It's so a couple different things, right? Like, I'll just say personally, like there are some posts that just like resonate with you, right? And it is like, oh my God, this is it. Like, I love it. I know these are my people. They're going to resonate with it. And sometimes it just doesn't, like, it falls flat, right? Again, we are literally, it is like the 4th of July. We are setting up a firework and someone is looking in the sky at the right time and it is coming back down, right? That is social media on LinkedIn, at least, right? There are some times where I phone it in and I'm like, I don't know what I'm writing about, like, whatever. This is kind of, and like, everyone's like, Liz, this is the smartest thing you have ever said. And I'm like, I cannot believe that this is what you, okay, all right, good to know, great feedback. Really, this? Really, 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 really this. So sometimes it is really, again, if your goal is not to be an influencer and show people that I can create one post that gets this many impressions that converts to this many sales, fuck it. Excuse my language. You know what I mean? Like, that is not the most important thing. Now, what I would say is the things that drive my impressions is my consistency of posting, right? And that doesn't mean that I do it every single day, but am I doing it consistently the same days every single week, right? And have I been doing that consistently for a month, maybe 2 months, right? And does my audience, the algorithm, know what to expect? Number one. And then number two, and it sounds like you do have a clear focus on this, right? Am I speaking about the same 1, 2, 3 things, right? So I think there it sounds like you're pretty clear on that personal branding. But when you're looking, I mean, we're trying to hit the lottery every single day on every single post. And so like when you're looking at like those specific impressions, anyone that's going to be able to tell you, well, the exact reason that this did that is trying to sell you a course, and they don't know what they're talking about. You know what I mean? And again, I would go back to understanding the why of your posting, and is the cumulative effect driving what you want it to do, whether that be conversations, whether that be new connections, whether that be leads on a new role, whether that being people respecting you in the industry so you can build your expertise, right? I think that's the more important thing. Now, impressions do matter long-term in that game overall, right? So I think these are things that are important to pay attention to. So if you had 10 examples of this, right, I would want to look at those 10 posts and say, okay, let's start to break these down around who did we tag? What did you say? What are the pictures, right? Things like that. And that's where you can really kind of start to understand the impressions on a better level. That was a really big non-answer, but I hope maybe that was helpful a little bit.
Oh no, it was definitely helpful. Yeah.
Okay.
Do you think that, I will say from like my feed, I just got inundated with things that were, International Women's Day. And it just got to the point where it was like everything. And, I'm on there looking for, relevant, whatever's relevant to me. I think, Justina, that may have been something that, maybe that's why you didn't get a reaction,
sure.
because it was so much that everybody was
Very good point.
take advantage.
Oh, that's a
of
great
it.
point, Deb.
Yeah.
Again, you're screaming into the void, and there's a lot of people in there, right? And so you're
For
seeing less engagement when it's the same thing over and over that day. I bet if you would wait another month and post that same post, exact same post, maybe take out words, it's International Women's Day, right? I bet you would get a completely different reaction. I think you're right, Deb.
That's a great point.
So Liz,
sorry, go ahead.
No, go ahead, Becky.
First, Suha.
Quick question. So one of the things that I struggle with is the hook line. As we're scrolling, something catches your attention and you decide to read a post. How do we go about, and I know you can't hit it out of the ballpark every single time, but what's the strategy of what's a good hook line so that people stop scrolling and say, oh, I want to read that? Whether it's I know when I see your videos, I'm telling myself what it is. I see your face and I see your videos like, oh, I want to hear what she has to say.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. But I think it's a couple things, right? I write my posts and create my videos knowing we're doing exactly what we're doing, right? Everybody's scrolling. Nobody's on LinkedIn because they have time to read 14 paragraphs on, why we're a smart business person. Yet we're all on LinkedIn trying to write 14 paragraphs to prove to people why we're a smart business person. I fell into that, right? My videos used to be like, I couldn't write them in 60 seconds because I have so many things to tell you about what I know. Do you understand how many words I have to say? So you can say all of those words, just make it shorter, right? Just make it shorter. So I'm sure, Suha, when you're sitting down thinking, oh my God, this is something I want to say, right? You're like me. You're like all of us. We can write this many words. And so how do you break that up then into, okay, and I write with my phone and a timer. So I write words and then I go back and I read it and I say, hey, how long is that? And then when I write my posts, I write exactly the opposite of how they taught you in business school. I write a sentence and then I put white space, and then I write another sentence and I put white space, because people are scrolling. If you put 2 sentences in a row, no one's reading the second sentence, right? Everyone's reading 3 and then they're stopping, right? So I think half of the hook is visual. How do you get people to say this? If it's too cramped and there's too much text and like, what am I looking at? This seems too businessy, right? Like it just seems, unless it's the right person. And if it's the right person with the right followers, we'll still comment, right? But if it's not, we're going to keep scrolling. And so how do you make it visually look appealing and then start strong, right? I always tell people, if you're starting a video and you don't know where to start, and you're saying, hey guys, this is Liz, so I'm here to tell you, cut your video wherever you stop everything I just said and start with the right? Because that's where people want to actually hear. You almost want to start in the middle of a sentence to get people to understand what you're doing. And then a lot of times I put the same short script in my video in my post, because some people are going to listen to me, some people are going to read the captions, some people are going to read the words. So I think the secret sauce is say less, say it bigger and longer and drawn out. And we, especially as women, I'm going to be honest, we have to prove our worth to people, and we are used to sitting in rooms and saying a lot of words to prove that we're smart and we deserve to be there. And you understand that I understand like, I'm sure we've all had this experience where we have conversations and someone looks at you and goes, oh my God, you're smart. You're smart, right? And so we're so used to having to get to that point in the conversation. That's not for social media. We have to learn to edit ourselves into sound bites and really take these in little tiny chunks at the time. That's how you stop the scroll, in my opinion.
No, that's perfect. Thank you.
And what you said, Liz, really resonates with me in the taking up more space on your content, because I am one of those scrolly people. And if I'm say in a doctor's office or something, noise around me when I read is sometimes distracting to me to really comprehend well. So I'm looking for buzzwords, and if it's a good enough buzzword, and it's not the whole hook, Suha, it's the word, or maybe I see a friend who's posted or an actual comment back, not a thumbs up, not a heart, but an actual comment. And I'm like, oh, wait a minute, let me go back up and see what so-and-so said. So what you're saying really does, it resonates with me when I'm a reader, for sure.
Good. I love to hear that. Thanks for the feedback.
If we just start wearing our ball caps backwards and did more selfies. Was that snarky? It was snarky. Sorry.
I love it.
There's just a lot of that in my feed.
There's definitely in our industry a prototype, right? And on LinkedIn a prototype, right? And I think that's what I love about what Molly is doing, is encouraging. Guys have it easier. My dog is down here whining, so if you can hear her, I apologize, but she agrees that life is rough right now. But guys do have it easier, right? They don't have this, like, we don't have to get camera ready, right? I talk about my camera ready days and my non-camera ready days and all of these things. And I mean, there is a different level of expectation that we have from society and we put ourselves under, right? Which I think is definitely a true statement. And so we can't just show up in a baseball cap, or, my favorite thing I love to say is we can't just show our kids and act like it's like taking care of our kids is expected, right? It's not like a shining moment. which I've had a lot of guys tell me, do you know how great it is just to bring your kids on a conference call and people love it so much? And I have to actually educate them as a woman. It's not seen as a great thing to not be able to understand how to negotiate childcare and your job at the same time. Anyways, I digress. That wasn't the point of this. But Becky, to your snarky point, the snark is real because there is a double standard, right? And unfortunately, I think a lot of times we also then stop. I mean, I know I did, right? And I mean, I've had a lot of benefit. Guys, I hate most of the videos I post, right? Like, I don't like most of the video pictures that I post of me. Like, I am not this person that's just like magically thinks they're amazing and loves the way they look and sound. But I mean, what's the saying? If boys can do it.
Yeah.
Plus,
Molly,
we
do
think
not
you're
put that.
magical
Do
and
not
amazing.
put that for LinkedIn, okay? Please.
The variance in the minimum standard, the standard, right? The variance in it, I had felt over the last few years that it was getting a little bit better, where that expectation didn't have to be, you know, that I have to be everything at all times, that there was wiggle room for me to show up like today. Because let me tell you, and also playing golf in 42-mile-an-hour winds was not a great idea. But a bonus of that is I don't need a facial now, and that's why my face is all red. But my son and I already had it booked. I digress. But where I'm going back to it is the minimum standards that it's just, I really thought we were getting closer, and now I feel like we are much further apart than where we even were a few years ago. So it's even more difficult when you're out here on LinkedIn and you're trying to put the right content out there, put something that actually means something to you that someone else, like that variance there, isn't going to take and poop on. You know what I mean? Whereas where you felt raw enough that you could do that, now I find myself reeling myself back in to the point of not posting anything. Because
I find that the boys club is coming back to a certain extent.
Yes,
I agree. I
has
feel
gone
it
down.
too. I agree.
Yeah.
and some of the things that they feel like that they can write or say, force it in some ways forces you to spend more time on the analysis paralysis about your approach to even putting the content out there in the first place.
For sure. For sure. I think, go ahead, Becky. You're going to say
No,
something.
I was just going to say that's why this type of group is so incredibly important. I mean, for us to support each other and to continue supporting other female voices in the industry and even outside of our industry. I mean, there's part of me that, wants to figure out how we can tackle that monster, but I would rather focus my energy on helping the incredible women around me right here and see if we can just use our positivity to just almost it. There was a post recently, and I'm not going to tell you who posted it or what it was about or anything like that, but I spent 45 minutes just spinning my wheels thinking about, should I respond, and if I do, what does that mean for my career? And social media is forever, right? And how do I want to present this? Is this the hill I want to die on? And finally, I just put it to the side and I was just like, this post is going to be gone in 48 hours. I'm going to put something else out there. I don't know if that was the right decision or not, but that was the only one I could make.
Well,
so
here's what I'll say to kind of go along with what both of you said, right? I think the great thing about LinkedIn, I'm not going to say social media, but I think we're mostly 99% talking about LinkedIn right now, right? Is that it's an echo chamber for the people that are there. So there is one or two small but mighty cohorts in, let's talk about the mortgage industry specifically, that are male dominated. Same group of people like each other's stuff, whatever. Maybe they're naming numbers or things that should be important, whatever these things are. But the great thing about LinkedIn is it's only important to the people and things that's important to. And so, Becky, to your point, that's what's great about this. And that's why I'm so passionate about empowering all of you. It's not about posting every day. It's not about what time you show up. It's about showing up and voicing what is important to you. And that doesn't have to directly be doing this. I know we're being recorded. Sorry. Again, Molly, don't put that directly as you're clipping on LinkedIn to anyone, but it is
My views skyrocket.
yeah, I know. Wish Short says this. Thanks, Molly. Maybe we can orchestrate that together. No, but I think it's about showing up, right? The reason the people that show up get views is because they show up and say the things, right? And we have to keep showing up and saying the things. And one of the biggest things I talk to women, especially women of this demographic and this industry, is you have so much knowledge and wisdom, and we have to pass this on and figure out, especially in the world that we're going into, how we're fostering and raising the next generation of women leaders. And that might not be directly by leading them. That could be by leading and fostering them through video content on LinkedIn, through communities and networks like this. And so I think the best solution, guys, to exactly what you're talking about is showing up and being the alternative voice in a positive way, right? Like, and by being authentic, Deb, to your point, people are drawn to that, right? People show up and see the post the same way we do, and people are still engaged to the other side as well. And so how can we be that positive voice? And yeah, I think it's a true statement that we're dealing with our jobs, which means, maybe I can do this a little bit more, but I'm also trying to get these people to hire me too. So I still have to be a little bit, worried about it. But I do think there's a vast majority of people who also support, just makes sense content as well too. And, we got a lot of allies out there. And, if we're a little bit brave and can show up, I think there's a lot of benefit on the other side of it too.
Thank you for sharing that. That means a lot.
I appreciate that feedback too.
Have you, and I haven't been much recently, but have you noticed any new people entering the mortgage space in the females is what I'm trying to ask. A friend of mine came back from a conference and she had said, one of the things that I think that we're battling is also not a lot of individuals wanting to come into the mortgage space like they used to, having opportunities at companies and, going back, she was saying her company was pivoting back to partnering with local colleges and universities to really try to get individuals interested in the mortgage industry again, all aspects of it. And I was just wondering if those of you that have been to conferences recently, are you seeing younger individuals coming in good numbers, or do you feel like we still have work to do as a collective group in this space?
Anyone else want to weigh in on that?
I think we definitely have a lot more to do. Absolutely. Especially bringing more diverse voices to the industry.
Yes.
But I'll tell you, I was at the servicing conference in Texas, and I was surprised at the number of new, younger women who were at that conference. That was the first time I was like, there's people here I don't know. There's a lot of people here I don't know. But that was the first time it's happened in a very long time.
Well, that's good and positive. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
I think, go ahead, Kristen.
There's a lot of longevity in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
Folks have companies, they go through M&A, they sell, and then they end up in consulting and corporate advisory boards and all these other things. You go to annual and you're trying to have conversations about what's next with millennials and Gen Z folks, the maybe two that were present, and you look around and they don't actually have a market because a lot of these folks don't understand what's coming next and what the industry needs to do in order to advance, right? To meet clients where they are. It's I'm glad to hear that servicing's changing. That's fantastic. But I think origination still, especially with the amount of attrition that happened when layoffs happened, when you had career transitions, when you had all of these things, they kind of kept middle of the road. So the new people were let go, the high salaries were let go. And so you have people of a certain age that still remain. And I think that's part of the problem too that we're seeing in origination.
Yeah, I was chatting with somebody recently about this, and with margins being as tight as they are, a lot of people are unwilling to invest in new talent to train. So think about it as like a mortgage apprentice, so to speak. And instead of hiring someone that they could bring up and potentially pass a legacy on, to use that term, they're looking at AI. They're like, how do I automate this? How do I have somebody else, do my tasks for me so I don't have to worry about it? And then I can just retire and not care. That's a lot of what I've been hearing, is that I don't want to bring on a kid when I can have a computer do it, and then I can just retire in 10 years.
Well, someone's got to program that computer.
Well,
someone's got to know how to work that computer.
Yeah.
And you still need that human in the loop. Sorry, I'm putting my AI head on.
Absolutely.
Kristen, Suha, and I are just like, yeah, there's no computer without a person, right? Like,
Yeah.
Cute, wink, wink, nudge, nudge.
Yeah, but the loan officers won't be doing it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, I would say there's a lot of, in the conferences I've been to, a lot of new people in tech sales, right? There's always new tech sales people getting into the industry in these conferences. And there's always great new energy, right? Like, I don't think that's a bad thing when it's the right person who actually wants to make a difference. So that's exciting. But the thing that I learned about last year at NAMBA that I think is like one of the craziest things in our industry is our problem with getting new appraisers into the industry, right? And again, this has to do with literally the legislation and regulations that you have to mentor someone into becoming a new appraiser. And again, Becky, to your point, a lot of these appraisers are saying, why would I bring someone on? Because I'm creating my own competition, et cetera, et cetera. And then we all know that we mentor people that look like us. So I hire a lot of white women because I'm a white woman. I have to actively not hire white women because that is who I am, right? And so there's a lot of old white dude appraisers who, if they're going to do something, they're hiring a lot of white dudes into it. And so there's a huge backlog of people of color, young people who want to get into the appraisal industry that just can't. And so I just think there's so many opportunities within our industry to figure out how we change some of these things. And I mean, gosh, is this the year or 4 years that we're going to do all of that? Who the heck knows, y'all? Existential crisis and all. But I think that, again, the power comes from groups like this where we come together and figure out how we continue to advance, the things that are needs, which is bringing young people into the industry, which is figuring out how we reduce these barriers to entry and, make it more accessible all the way around.
Yeah, I love the program like that NAMBA has with, with their coordination with the colleges. I love some of the work that the MBA does with Barry University and stuff like that, where we are trying to educate the young people and we are trying to show that there is a path, and that's a viable path for young, diverse individuals to come into the industry. But I still don't think we're doing enough.
Well, and I think, Suha, in my opinion, there's a need to balance technology, automation, AI, and people, right? It's hard to tell people come into the industry when when the next cycle comes, you could be the first ones on the chopping block, right? And so, I mean, I think we all have found success in negotiating that over time, but I mean, would I tell an 18-year-old this is the industry to get into, you know, cyclically in certain roles? Absolutely not. And so I think automation and technology does help level that out to become a place that you can go to for stability, versus having to figure out if you're okay with riding the wave, which, I mean, we've all had to ride. It's rough, right? It's hard.
I think there's a very different perception of employment for the Gen Zers. I don't think they expect to have a job for 10 years or 15 years or 20 years. They've been told, and social media tells them, and TikTok tells them 2 to 3 years. If you want to maximize your salary, you are in fact your own LLC and you are demanding top dollar. So inviting them in, I don't think they're worried that they won't have a job, because they're the ones that are kind of directing their own careers, where I am a product of my parents' generation who stayed at a job for 35 years until the shop closed down, right? Who my aunt and uncles, you're self-employed. You were at a job for 20 years. What are you going to do? No one's going to hire you. But you're old now. You know, like I'm product of that generation. So we're like bridging the gap between people that are really worried about unemployment and people that are really worried about having a job for 20 years. So I think it's a different it's a different conundrum. But also too, I think like a group like this that grows could have a much greater impact. I love what the MBA does. I love what some of these groups do, but there are very few that are consistently and constantly having conversations, trying to manage multiple interests. There are some things that just don't make sense. Take appraisers and appraisal bias. The fact that you need a degree and you need 1,500 hours to get certified to become an appraiser, right? At apprenticeship. You don't need that to fly a plane. Like something.
I mean, when Kristen says it like that, why hasn't it been changed? You know what I mean? That's insane. That's insane.
Yeah. Well, there are as many interests for it as against it, right? Folks are change adverse. If you think about like eNote's taken about 5, 6, 7 years to really like catch hold. It's the same thing. It's every state you make the change. And people that are really motivated can get it done, but everyone likes to talk about it. But I don't know that folks are really, really motivated, right? You have as many interests for it. They want to keep the money with the folks that they have because they're finally making money because there's scarcity. And then you have the other folks that, see that it's a problem. And since we don't have such a large number of loans closing right now, and we have things like, property reviews and all this other stuff, it's, the lever's been pulled a little bit. So now it's not urgent and important. It should be urgent and important anyway.
Amen. Amen.
I will get off my soapbox.
No, you have a very valid point, because if this was back in 2020, 2021, when production was skyrocketing and appraisals were taking 45 days to get something back.
Yes.
I mean, we're not going back to 2% and 3% where that's going to become an issue, but it's definitely something that needs to be addressed. You're absolutely right, Kristen.
This is like 5 social media posts that we just talked about, at least within appraisal, right?
I'm going to send you the transcripts.
And remember, if Liz is doing this, you're not allowed to post it as a cut on social media, okay?
But you're right. We could easily,
and again, these are things we all need to be talking about, not to cut you off, Molly, right? But like all of us should be talking about this. That's how these issues are raised. And so like a content pillar of everyone in Athena's Council should be speaking about equality and ways that we can keep raising the parity in employment and mortgage. I think that's super mortgage and housing across the board, right? I mean, I'll use my buddy's Greg's hashtag all of us, right? Like all of us has to mean all of us. It can't just be words that we're saying, right? It has to be true. And so let's piggyback and talk about what all of us means. Greg's gonna love this.
Wink, wink.
I have a question about video captions, Liz.
Yeah.
Okay, I know that you have a video team that edits your videos, and you have captions that really are kind of part of your brand, I think, at this point. And I can't get to that level, but when you look at your back end analytics, do you see that whether people are turning the volume on or relying on the captions, like how important is that caption part of it?
So, I mean, I can't see on LinkedIn that sort of analytics. YouTube gives you that, but I haven't been on YouTube long enough to be able to kind of tell that. What I will tell you is the average stat is that 50% of people listen to your social media with the volume on, 50% listen to it with it off. That's an overall statistic. I think that's I feel that's probably pretty accurate, right? Like if I think about my consuming social media habits on LinkedIn, sometimes I'm sitting at my desktop and I have it live and I'm listening to it. Sometimes I'm in the grocery store line scrolling, right? It just depends. And so I think, number one, you can add captions to your LinkedIn through LinkedIn when you post a video. So at the very least, absolutely do that. Even if it's a little janky, I think it still helps. A lot of basic editing programs allow you to add captions. So I think if you're using a basic editing program, add captions. And then third, I don't think that your video post and your word post should be so different, right? So I'm not saying they're exactly the same, but they should be saying the same-ish thing in order to make sure people understand if they're not listening, oh, wait, maybe I do want to watch this video, right? So I don't know if that 100% answered it, but I think.
Yeah, I mean, I want to work on video, but technically the captions part slows me down a little bit. And
Start by using LinkedIn auto captions. I mean, that's definitely what we did in the beginning, and let those flow. And sure, a couple words won't be right, but who cares? You can actually go in and edit it before you post if you want to, and then you can get fancier later.
Yeah. There's a couple of really cool online tools that you can upload your video and get the stuff done. I can post a couple of links later if that's helpful. LinkedIn does the auto caption. It is kind of janky.
It's a little
bit. Yeah.
Better
Especially if you
than
have an accent. Yeah.
What do you use, Becky? Can I ask?
So it depends on how I'm recording it. But what is this one that I use occasionally? So I've used Opus before. Even Canva has an automated version.
Yep.
InShot has a decent captioning. And then there's also, what was that one I was looking at the other day? I've played with about 6 or 7 of them. Otter AI, I think, does the same thing. But
I've used Otter in the past.
Yeah. I mean, I'm a big fan of captions. Like a lot of times I don't put on the audio because I'm usually in places where I really probably shouldn't be watching a video.
No, none of us do that.
And yeah, so I'm a big fan of captions personally.
Okay.
Or if you're like me, your earbuds are usually dead, so it's like captions if you're
And then there's
in
that.
the office or somewhere. I'm just like, oh.
100%.
What really quickly, tomorrow I will send to everybody on this call a Google Sheet that has all of our LinkedIn profiles and the rest of the members of Athena's council, so everybody. And hopefully connect to anybody that you are not already connected to. And I have asked ChatGPT, hey, can you write me a tool that will make this easy for everybody? And I don't know a shortcut except to go to people's profile and connect.
And again, sometimes connection just takes connection and work.
Yes. But I wanted to show you all. Let me see here. I just looked at a post that Suha did. Let me share my screen really quickly. And I wanted to.
Uh-oh, what did I do?
Nothing.
I think we all want to compliment you on your fractional. That was pretty cool.
Yeah. Okay, so we went over this in the last meeting, and I'll send. We have a short video, less than 60 seconds, that explains how to do this. But just make sure, at least for the women that are in, this meetup, that we're all working together, you can just click on these. You see this next to Suha's profile. It's these little bells, and when you click on it, see, you can get a push notification or the notification in LinkedIn that Suha has posted, and that's what reminds me, hey, go dig around in Suha's post, go dig around in Laura's. And then what I have been doing is, I don't know if this works for everybody. I just started using calendaring of my own tasks to block time to do things that I would typically, push off to 3 days from now. But I've started putting 15 minutes on my calendar every day that I call the LinkedIn Squad Patrol. And I just go through all of you in this group. I just go to your profile and I go to your posts and I just try to, not on everything. I don't, just like what Becky was saying earlier. And I think or no, it was Kristen, right? You were saying like sometimes, what to say. I have run into that problem in the last month, and it's just like, oh shit, I need to reply, but I'm not sure what to say. And it doesn't always work out. They're not all going to be winners, but I do spend that 15 minutes just squad patrol. And if somebody is taking a fight with you, if somebody is looking at you sideways, please get in the Athena's Council community and send us a message immediately, and we will come hunt them and make them regret.
I think we need squad t-shirts.
Yeah, I will
really good marketing for Athena's Council.
I will say two things for that. I think we're always more scared of someone saying something than actually someone saying something. We're on LinkedIn. It's pretty great. But number two, if someone says something, oh my God, Liz Short would love nothing better than the opportunity to go off. So yeah, put it in Athena's Council, but please let me know directly. Send me the post. Give me an opportunity. Let me go.
Yes.
Two things, Molly, that I would like to share with this group. First of all, this has been amazing. Like I love this whole conversation. So thank y'all. Like amazing. Exactly what I wanted from this. My commitment to both of you and my ask to both of you is two things. A, know your why. Why are you showing up on social media? If you don't understand why you're showing up, it's going to be really hard. So if you don't understand why you're showing up between now and next month, spend some time thinking about that, right? Like I'm showing up to build community because I love you all and because I want to build my business and make money, right? So like that is why I'm showing up. Why are you showing up? Each of you have a different why. You could be trying to recruit people. You could be building your brand. You might be getting a new job. You might be building a community, right? There's all these different reasons, but really work on understanding why you're doing that. And number two, what's your commitment to consistency? It can be once a month. It can be once a quarter. It can be whatever. Don't let someone tell you have to post every day. And if you post 7 times a day, it's better. It's not. What's your commitment to consistency that you can show up and do? And let's start there. And if you think, maybe it's this, maybe I could do this, let's start small and let's build to whatever that is. Okay, so that's A. B, the second thing I will say is y'all showed up today. The hardest thing is going to be showing up next month. Okay. This is about accountability. Like I can share things with you. I can do all of it, but the hardest thing is accountability. My favorite statistic about accountability is if you commit to something and write it down, you are 50% more likely to achieve your goal. That's pretty great, right? So write down what you want to do. I mean, that's pretty amazing. If you share that goal with someone, commit to them in person what that is, and then commit to regular check-in sessions on that, you are 95% more likely to achieve your goal. That is basic math to show up next month, ladies, right? Like, I mean, literally, that does not take a lot of math, right? It doesn't matter. And show up next month, even if you've done nothing, right? This isn't a check-in to show that you mastered social media progress over perfection, right? Like, even if you've done nothing, show up so we can motivate you to do something next month. That's where I will end it. Literally, thank you for this 60 minutes. This has been the best 60 minutes that I've spent in a long time. I appreciate you ladies so much. Molly, thank you for letting us hang out together once a month. I
Of
appreciate
course. It's awesome
Love
to see
this.
everybody. We'll talk soon.
it. Have a
Bye,
great
ladies.
rest of your week, ladies. Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.